tell you, even though it's been only a week, it feels like I haven't talked to you in like 2 months. I don't know what it was like with this week, but I feel like I haven't talked to you in 2 months. But it's been like 1 week. I miss you,
Word.
Andy. I miss you. How you been?
Uh, I've had quite the week myself. I don't mind being open about it. Nah, just had a real depressing week. My depression was really getting the best of me to the point that, I got into like a little thing with my wife. But, I ended up apologizing and ended up praying about it. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, I gotta really get to a point where, okay, it's not about me, really. It's about us, it's about all of us. And it's like, you know what? I need to just, pretty much get a grip and kind of
Hmm.
like fuck off type situation where
Oh
I gotta
yeah,
learn to not control. I mean, except the things I cannot control, pretty much is what it all comes down to.
absolutely. I
So,
completely
yeah.
agree. So I have some people that I'm trying to bring into the room as we speak. So I've invited them. Hopefully they got the invitation if somebody's trying to
Yes.
call me in.
So Rainer's here, and
Yeah,
then
they are
the
both
other
here.
somebody else is here as well. So I'm going to
I'm trying to get them in. So
Rainer. Yeah, yeah. So, oh, I might as well make the announcement. So we do have a new member of our team. I am excited for this one because to think our first encounter was on the open mic. Was that last week or the week before? And Rainer, what's going on, buddy?
Good morning.
So
Good
our
morning. Or good night.
yes,
Good evening to you both.
yes. So I'm happy to announce that we have a new member of our team, and that is Cody Taylor. Brother, welcome to the team. You guys were phenomenal on Tuesday with the popcorn poetry, and welcome, man.
Thanks.
And Rainer, thank you for doing this interview with us, man. So I'll start with this. How are you? How was your week?
It's been a busy week. We're transitioning our organisation under a parent company, so it's been challenging, changing the way we work for 6+ years to now the parent
Okay.
company's way. But it's been challenging, but it's good to keep busy, right? Boredom's always my
No, of
worst enemy, so
course.
it's good to keep busy.
Oh, of course, of course. So what makes you happy? Tell me. Let's go. Let's get right to it.
What makes me happy?
Yes.
Very simple things, really. I look for joy in simplicity in life. I don't need a exotic meal in a fancy up-end restaurant. I'd rather share a meal in a low-end restaurant on a street with people, with real people. Authenticity is probably what's key to me. I'd rather have a meal or a drink in a downtown place with somebody who's authentic than sit in a fancy gala restaurant with falsehood. I like nature. I don't need to go to exotic and expensive resorts. When I visit places, I'd rather visit places on the street level where I mix with the people from that culture. So yeah, very simple things make me happy.
well, I'll tell you why I
That,
think Andy asked you that. It's because both Andy and I had pretty, and I'm going to say, pardon my French, Raider, we had pretty shitty fucking weeks. So we always look to you because you always, I mentioned to this last time when we saw each other on the open mic that I really respect the way you write because you write in a way that you're learning lessons from your own experience, but I draw from that as well. So I think that's kind of where I think Andy's going with because you've had poetry that has kind of brought light out. So like, what's one of your poems that like has done that, has brought like that happiness back into like a dark time? Like, what can you talk about any of those pieces that you've done? Because I know, but I need you to heal my soul tonight, Rainer.
I'll try my best to. So
Yes,
I started
no
writing.
pressure.
I started writing. I travelled this vast continent that I live in Australia on a motorbike for 10 years. I rode with the wind. I had no place. I rode alone. Friends wanted to ride, but I wanted to ride alone. I'm here today, and I would have met people on the street level, in little towns to big cities, where I would heartfeltly say, let's meet next Wednesday for dinner. But I could wake up on Tuesday morning, look outside my window, it took me an hour to pack my bike, have a shower, and I was on the road, and I'd be ringing that person 500 kilometers down the road saying, sorry, I've got to take a rain check on dinner tonight because I'm 500 Ks away, I've moved on. And this is how I lived for 10 years. And in that time, I met some great people. I stopped to help a lot of people along the way. And if I may, I'll read a piece called The Traveller, which will encapsulates that journey and what my life was like. I was that nomadic rider, stopping to help people, but when that job was done, I moved on.
I think that's a great idea. I would absolutely think we should kick it off with that.
All right. The Traveller. As he arrives, warm smiles to greet, a subtle hesitation, for they know him not. This is soon to be a passing phase. All he seeks is simple love, peace and harmony. Unity among us all, for we make up this world. But trouble surrounds him. He seems to follow its wake. Perhaps trouble is his real name. He hears a cry for help in the silence of dark nights. Somehow, he's there at the right time and place. He pauses for a while to lend a helping hand. Then he moves on, leaving no trace behind. No, not a footprint on the shadows of this land. For when the traveller goes, a cool wind blows. Lord, peace, love, and harmony you have taught him. Why, when these you do not grant him? The sweet love and joy of kids you grant him in abundance, but still you grant him not any of his own. Often the love of the people, mistaken by others for reasons of their own. How to genuinely love you have shown him, but a wife he still eludes. I guess what good is a partner and kids for a life on the road if it's not, is it not wasteful, the love he has learned? When there's so many that preside in love they have never known, the tools to be of help, is it not all he would need? Many cry out his names, but it is to no avail. Stay for a while, they say, perhaps a life or maybe more. But just when it is felt he will stay, he is but simply gone. Does he not tire or cry in the still of night of the many goodbyes to the many he has known? What is the purpose of this life, O Lord? Where does thou take him on these long journeys in the dark of night, deep into places unknown? Where does he go? What does he see? Is there something out there that simply eludes my frail eyes? Is it to the place called Nirvana that he calls home? You seem to know best, sweet Lord, thus I shall leave it unto thee. Maybe one day you will grant him all that you have taught him. Perhaps still that day, which only you know when, let the cold winds blow where the traveller may go.
Wow. I felt that like you it's not driving, but you're walking on the road, and these are the thoughts that are coming to your mind. I'm trying to think what book it reminded me of. I don't know if it's called that. Is it called The Alchemist? I think is the name of that book. It's what it reminded me of. But it's just to that degree. That's what I got of that. Like the person has the the stick and the, oh my God, on a polka dot hanky that has his stuff in it, and that's what I'm thinking of. That's what I thought of. Like he's just walking, and it's like these are the thoughts running through his mind, and these are things he's thinking about and things he's wondering. And even though this is the life I'm in right now, this is the season I'm in right now, but yet I know there's more for me than what I'm at right now. Like that's what I got from that piece. That is a very, at least that's how it spoke to me, kind of thing, and I love
Absolutely,
that.
and I can see how you got that. Cody, what about you? Did you pick up any kind of connections through? I know that he's pretty well read, and if you're just joining us, Cody's kind of a new addition to our team. If you were with us on Tuesday, he helped me out interviewing our pop culture people. But Cody, what about you as far as this traveler piece?
Nice to meet you, Cody.
Nice to meet you too. Can you guys hear me? All right.
Oh,
Yep.
perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds great.
All right. So I did not intend to do this tonight, like to say yes to this. It's been one of those days. I think we've all been going through it. At least that's what it feels like. It just feels like everybody's kind of white knuckling it through whatever we're calling this thing. I guess life. Anyway, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why I'm doing it. I guess because I don't know, guys. This has been one of those days. My brain's been blown open. The world has just either gotten huge or the bottom's about to drop out, and I don't know which way it's going. But it feels like it's going in that big direction. Like, you know, something's going to happen. That is to say, it's been a rough one today, and I didn't want to get out of bed. I had to kind of hustle to get, you know, a shirt and hat on, so you didn't see my bed head and so forth. So I'm here. I'm showing up. I'm saying yes to this. So I appreciate you guys having me and asking me to do this. Just be nice to me today because I'm a little sore. Like my head hurts. It's kind of a tangle of frayed wires. So just bear with me, okay?
Well, you're doing great.
But
so I think
thanks for asking me.
Absolutely. So, Rainer, to me, like, again, with the whole traveling piece, and again, going solo, that takes a lot of courage, but it also feels also cold at times, probably selfish at times. So can you talk about your drive as the solo traveler, the explorer? Because it looks like you weren't necessarily looking for something. You were looking for something to find you along the journey. Is that kind of your experience? Because 10 years across the continent of Australia, you're going to see a whole bunch of amazing things, I imagine.
Yes, it was twofold. It was twofold. I started off, so I carried a lot of scars in after losing my father at 12.
Mm-hmm.
And he died on the 21st of December. So
Oh, wow.
every Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
I would find, and he and I were close. We had an uncanny bond.
Mm-hmm.
And for many years, at come Christmas time, I would instigate some form of unpleasantness, an argument within the family or within friends. It was me hitting out. And I know mum and dad, as doesn't matter how tough times got, they tried to give us the best Christmas they could. And someday I wanted to give that to my kids. And every time I was hurt in life, I hit out externally. I was an extroverted personality. The bars, the clubs, the violence, I was into that. I was well on my way to a prison. I knew this couldn't go on. And this was the time.
I was going to say, you said violence. I was kind of shocked when you said violence, and then you just followed up.
Yeah.
I almost was in prison situation. Because Rainer, to me, you come off very peaceful, very calm and even keel. So to hear you say violent and then also almost, you know, being in prison, I got to hear more almost if you don't mind indulging us a little.
I'm an open book, and what's in me,
Wow.
I've got no.
He's giving me perspective right now. You're giving me perspective right now because I think I'm gonna learn more about my father today through you right now. So if whatever you're gonna say, I'm listening, bro, because it's gonna be impactful. It's gonna be impactful. I know this right now. I already know it.
Again, the wisdom here, because obviously there has been some sort of learning that has happened and wisdom that's come forth. And that's why, again, I feel like I'm learning through the lessons that you're expressing here tonight. So again, if you're just joining us, you're speaking to the most amazing person who has joined us almost every single open mic. And I could listen to you read the dictionary. Honestly, we heard him read a poem earlier. It was so amazing. It was The Traveler, about his time, 10 years traveling solo, by the way, across the Australian continent. And that's the one, I've only been to a few places, and Australia was one of them. So I always feel like we're buddies in this. So again, let's talk that more time. I know.
So if I can digress a bit, it's funny how things happen in life, right? The two movies, Wolf Creek, which was based on the serial killer who was killing the backpacker murders. I did not see those movies till after I came back because I rode through towns like that. I lived through little towns, and stuff that was in that movie I've experienced other than being having a gun to my head. So the violence side, when I was growing up, Melbourne today is a very cosmopolitan city. Back in the 30 years ago, it wasn't. There was a lot of racism and things like that. And I was like the only single dark-skinned kid in a school of 500 in rough suburbs, for example. So, and the time of the skinhead gangs and so forth. So when I was in my early 20s, I had a principal of a very prominent primary school try to declare his own daughter mentally unstable so she couldn't leave home because she was going out with me. Right? That's what I grew up with. So this is where the violence was. And my mother used to pray that I would learn to turn the other cheek. Well, this particular person, when the doctor threw him out of the office, he agreed that I could see her. The first night we'd gone out, we come back close to midnight. I've still got one arm stuck in the seatbelt. He was a 6'5" guy. He's taken a crack. Something snapped in my head. I was always into retaliation. Something snapped in my head, and I thought maybe if he vented his anger on me, she's safe. So I stood in the middle of the street with my arms down, and I was heavy into the martial arts, and I could have dropped this guy. I stood there, let him take pot shots at my head. When he exhausted himself, I went home. I sat on my couch with blood dripping down my face, but something told me this is not over. 10 minutes later, the phone rings, and it says, and he's turned around and clocked her. Then I went through the avenging angel. But that was a key point in my turning point in my life, because at that point, this guy stood for everything I was against. But he gave me the best gift in life to be able to turn the other cheek, to overcome that weakness in me.
I feel
he
like,
saved me.
Yeah.
He saved me from a prison. And Andy, to your point about how did I overcome my father's death, one Christmas I left my mother crying at the front door, and I took off up into the hills for 2 weeks. I just had dehydrated food, and I just walked where I didn't see humans, where when I wanted to scream out and cry out my pain, there was nobody to put their arm around me and say, son, it'll be all right. I left that pain out. I screamed it out in top of these mountains where there was not a soul around to hear me. When I came back down off that mountain, from then on, I was able to enjoy every Christmas.
Wow.
And that was the precursor to my travels on the road, because then I met this lady. I think, Angelo, the first time I met you, I read a piece called The Mirror of Time, my very first poem I wrote. So this lady who came into my life when I was in my mid-20s, we were only together for about 6 months, but we would answer a question, but the question was never asked. We would go to a restaurant every time. Our first and second choice of our meals were the same, so we'd get both those and share it. We never had a harsh word, but we knew this couldn't go on because the rest of the world ceased to exist.
Yeah.
And that, when she went, it was like two halves of an apple like that, and nothing else existed. We would not have grown if we'd stayed together. When we walked apart, I had my martial arts, which I was training hard into ground myself. She was in a psychologist's office 3 days a week, and a crash course in yoga, because she was just a trembling wreck. She was a school teacher. So that, to overcome that, then I started looking. That was a big change in my life, because after we finished, that extroverted person that always vented his pain outside started looking within. And that's what instigated my troubles. And the reason, Angela, for me traveling alone was I didn't want that mother or that friend or that sister to put their arm around me and say, it'll be all right. I wanted to walk through the fire, to cleanse myself of all the pain, the scars, to find that strength within. And that is why I traveled, so that I was alone. I was with strangers who knew me not. And in that is where I met some beautiful people. And I never worry about hierarchy. I speak to my managing director the same way I speak to the janitor. I treat my own son, who I love to death, the same way I would treat somebody I dislike. Yes, I live I have those boundaries, obviously, blood's not thicker than water with me, but those boundaries, if my son crosses them or somebody I dislike crosses them, the repercussions are the same. If my son was in need, as somebody I dislike was in need, dying of hunger, I would be there to help them. Right? But I still dislike them. That doesn't change. I dislike who they are. And in these travels, I was meeting so many people, and I was helping people that really quite often tried to put me down. But I guess it helped them being them, helped reflected and gave me the opportunity to be the better person inside. And that's where my growth was. And that's what my writing is all about. I wrote a piece called Different Walks of Life that was based on 2 dogs I had, both pedigrees, but one was I used to show one of them, and the other one was a breed that's not recognized within the Canine Association of Australia. So, and the one who was recognized, a boxer, he was just winning accolades and everybody adored him, and the other one was treated like the street dog, and she was one of the best dogs I'd had. She's one of the best dogs that lived in care of my kids. And I wrote this piece called Different Walks in Life that relates. It's in a dialogue between 2 dogs, but if you think of it in terms of our society and our community and the way we live and the way we live in hierarchies, the way we look down on downtrodden people, this speaks all of that. If I may, I'll read that if I could.
Perfect.
It's a lengthy one, but it's like a dialogue between 2 dogs, right?
I love it. I'm so enthralled because I'm enchanted. I'm enchanted. I can't wait to hear how it goes.
Yeah, I'm like speechless right now because you said a lot of stuff that kind of hit home for me because especially the Christmas thing about your dad and stuff like that. I relate to that in so many levels because one, I remember when my grandmother died, my father's mother, and that pain that you talked about, that really runs deep in me because growing up, I grew up seeing my father get depressed around. So she passed away the day before New Year's Eve. And that really, so even though I was still young, but something about the atmosphere changed in that house because from that moment on, it was like, okay, this is a side of my dad I never saw before. So every year he would get depressed. He put all his boleros on. Put her music on, he started crying. I remember my mom used to get mad. And it's like every year, like he was always depressed. I mean, eventually he got to that point where he got older that, okay, he kind of stopped doing all that stuff. But he never celebrated Christmas. He never celebrated New Year's. He would go to sleep early. He was just too sad to really celebrate those things. And it's crazy too because like what you're saying is really resonating because it's like my father's been dead for 5 years now, and like I look back and there's times that I see things that trigger me, I guess you can say, that I have to make sure I don't fall into that same generational thing because he died March 8th of 2018, so it's one of those things that I'll look back like every time that day comes, like it's very uncomfortable, it's like that's why I have to remind myself, okay, I'm not alone. Like I have a wife, I have a son, and I don't want to put my son through the same thing. What I wouldn't want.
Absolutely, and you're doing a great job. As far as
and it's hard.
Because I think that's what Rainer's saying is that when he went on a solo journey, he wasn't necessarily wanting to connect with his family, but connecting with the world as a human. As like, I'm going to treat you how I want to be treated, and that's how I'm going to experience life. And that reminds me too, as being a teacher and teaching biology, how variations, we're all the same species, and this different walks of life. I'm still so enthralled to hear how we're connecting, because again, like being actualized, and having I had like this beautiful thing and I just lost it because I'm so excited to hear about
I hate what that but I get what you're getting
at. This conversation between these 2 dogs, I just want to hear how this goes and how we're really, again, the sweetest dog was the dog that we didn't actually, stereotypically would look at because it wasn't the purebred or the recognized breed. I teach biology and I said bread. So Rainer, please, can you grace us with your presence and your voice?
I will.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, Cody, you have any thoughts?
We want to hear Raina read. That's, I think, Cody's thought, right,
Yeah.
Cody?
Yeah. I want to hear.
Andy, before I go, my mother drove a further nail home. She went on the 14th of May, which was Mother's Day. So in Australia, 14th of May, 2017. So in next week, or 14th, coming up in a week and a half, is the 6th anniversary of my mother's death, and she went on Mother's Day. So they both made sure that I'll never forget the days of their passings, their anniversaries. So, yeah.
Wow.
But and Angela, both dogs were actually beautiful dogs. But this talks about,
of course,
there's really lovely people in every scale of life, but arrogances and prejudices and all these small, simple thoughts is how we sometimes is very real in the communities we live in, right?
And also too, just to, real quick, because with biology, there's only one species of dog, and that's the canine, and we recognize many different breeds. But there's many different species of avian, different birds and all that stuff. So that blows my mind, and a lot of it has to do with artificial, mechanisms of evolution, and we've actually bred the dog into, a purebred's actually genetically inferior because of those genes. So again, I think that we're just going to hear this beautiful theme throughout of how we all need to connect, because there is an interconnection for all of us.
Okay, different walks of life. Hey, you who loiters over there, the mangy excuse for a dog. How ghostly you look. You a disgrace to our kind. What breed are you anyway? Have you no pedigree? I am of a high-class bloodline. What are you, you ugly old thing? Did I see you eat from that old bin? Oh, how grotesque you are. How greedily you eat such muck. Have you not seen food before? Have you not a beautiful red bowl, something clean to eat from? What is that? You even sleep on that pile of dirt at night? Do you not have a clean, warm bed away from the cold? Go away, smelly old thing. When was it that you last had a wash? Look at you wag your tail. Do you expect a smile from a passing soul? Why do you look at me so? Have you got nothing to say? What purpose do you serve in life? Is there no place for you to go? Run along, gutter dog, you corrupt my space. Stray along the road, find others of your own. Seek refuge together. Live in the dirt you were born unto. I shall urge my mistress for a wash, for you pollute my air. Perhaps then a fine meal in my big red bowl. I shall go, my well-bred friend, live in your ignorant world. Look through closed eyes, be blind to life, be the king of your castle. Be a reality unto yourself. Fail to learn from life around you. Fool, do you not see that I gave meaning unto thee? The gutter that I sleep in gives meaning to your warm, cozy bed, as the bin that I eat from does to your big red bowl. Without my dirt-ridden body, what reality has your fine fur coat? What truth has your bloodline without a nobody as me? See, the muck that I eat gives life unto me, but you live for the fine food you eat, the warm, cozy bed. Go ahead, ask your mistress to hold you, for I walk alone. I go any place, the world is my home. Stay within your limits, friend, for you may not survive, for you remain a prisoner, held by the frame of your mind. I live life to learn from life. Give reality to the likes of you. Is it not your life, dear friend, that serves no purpose? You waste the pampered life that has been so kind to you. You live for your bloodline, the prestige of your home. I live simply for the growth of my soul. Learning of life from the gutter to the throne. Fool, step down from your throne and take a good look around. Learn that your fine fur coat, the material of your home, is made up of the dirt that I sleep in, the elements of the earth. Before I leave, my foolish young friend, I shall leave you this. Purity and power within, is it not the true reason for you living?
How? Like, my head has been just wide open today for some reason. So how do you decide to, in that solo journey, take that hair shirt off your back, quit punishing yourself for all the, you know, things you may have done and things that may have been done to you, and quit messing it all up? How do you do that? Like, how do you know when it's time to end the you know, one man show and add, you know, a bigger cast? And like, what? I don't know. Well, I'm lost, and like, don't know.
To me, I guess it was when I felt within that I had found that strength to be who I am, irrespective of what my circumstances were, whether it was I was walking through the fires of a broken heart, whether I was walking through the fires of burying a friend or scraping them off the road in a auto or motorcycle accident, when I could felt the same, whether I just won $1 million and I knew I was me, irrespective of my external circumstances. And then I met my ex-wife now, who I was married to for a long time. She had 2 young kids. They were 2.5 and 4. And I gave my heart to her. And at that stage, we didn't have our own son. And I wanted to be that father to them that my father was to me, although they weren't my own. And today I still share her, although she and I have broken up. I still share a good relationship with the boys and their kids, and they're all adults now. And I guess that time felt right for me, that I could give my heart again, because I knew who I was. I wasn't half a person coming up to her and saying, hey, I'm a half a person, let's together make a whole person. I was me, intact, full, complete. I walk alone. I live alone today, and I'm happy in that. But does that mean that I'm shut off to love? If that right person came who could love me unconditionally, that would love me for who I am, I would willingly give my heart. But I would not be with somebody tomorrow because I'm alone or lonely. I'm alone, but I'm not lonely, and that's a key difference there. And I think when you found that within yourself, that completeness, I think is where you would find. And Andy, to your question, as I said, you miss your father a lot, but I have seen enough in life. I've experienced a lot in the paranormal world. I have been through past life regressions. I have seen in my dreams, what do you call it, hypnosis and so forth, and past life regressions. And I know that the other world exists because my father is still around me today. So although you celebrate your each day with your wife, your son, and your close friends and family, your father is always around you, my friend. Never did.
No, I definitely believe that. I definitely believe that.
I want to hear more about the past life regressions, if because you mentioned that. If you can speak on that, I'm very fascinated by that.
Yeah.
And then Cody, I'm gonna bump you out for a second because I think we have a guest that wants to say hi, so I'll pull you back off.
Okay.
No worries.
Okay.
I'll take care of it.
Okay.
See you soon, Cody.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, my friend.
So I'm sorry, Rainer, go ahead.
So with the past lives, I guess you ask, and look, science has even speaks, although they disregard it, science actually has proven that.
I'm interested in it.
Yeah. So energy can't be destroyed, right? Science has proven that. Mm-hmm. Now, if you took a molecule of water, if I slow down its frequency, I've got a physical piece of ice that I can hold in my hand. I heat it up, it's in water, it'll take the shape of the container it's in. I heat it up even further, it becomes steam. It takes the 3-dimensional shape. I heat it up even further, it becomes invisible, but you put your hand into that chamber, it'll peel your skin off, superheated steam. Right? At any one time, I can cool that, slow down the vibration of the molecule of water and bring it right back to ice. Right? Now, we think about deja vu. Where does that come from? Right? If you have not lived another life before, right? How do you see this face and you know them, you've seen them before, or you know you've met this person before, but you never have. in this life, but you know them. You take up a sport or a hobby and you're a natural. You've never. So I for example, trained in kendo as well, which is Japanese swords. And I had the 6 months after I started training, or 4 months perhaps, I had the opportunity to train with some of the top 20 kendoists from Nittedai University in Japan, who are phenomenal. These guys would not believe that I had not been training for years. They wouldn't believe that I was only a novice of 4 months or 6 months. Through past life, I found I had been a part Mongol, part Japanese mercenary in Mongolia, half caste, and in that I saw there I was that side. I mean, I had similar features, more bulbous cheeks, the shaved head, the top knot, and blah blah blah. I'd seen through past life regressions, and that's when I knew why this kendo came so naturally to me.
Oh wow!
And I wrote a post of some of my inspired poems in my book. So in my books I write 3 sections: the journeys, which are physical things that happen in life. The inspired poems are my reflections, but it's also reels back to some of my past life regressions, or it captures a sense of things that happen in this life, but I've written it in an inspired way. And then the last 3rd section is verses. I wrote this piece in my first book called The Days of War, which talks about that soldier in the steppes of Mongolia, that half caste.
Oh wow!
If I can read that,
yes. I want to hear this one, absolutely. And again, I'm still trying to pull in just our special wanting to speak with you. I know sometimes it hates me, so we're gonna keep trying to pull our friend in while we hear this piece.
So,
Andy,
should I leave it and see what happens?
Sure.
No, I don't know, because I don't know. But I mean, you should still. I mean, Instagram hates.
Sorry, I just removed Andy. Go ahead. So I'm going to pull them back while we continue this conversation, because I'm very fascinated by that. Okay, now because I feel like if I can uncover some of there's some dust in the back covering it, clouding my mind, I can't quite see what's back there. So to hear you have this kind of experience and how that came through, I'm very fascinated by this.
And
so I'm going to bring our friends back in while you talk.
The other thing that quite often when you, well, I find anyway, when I travel, I can identify with many varied cultures. When I was moved to New Zealand for 6 months with work, the natives there, the Maoris, they accepted me as them. The indigenous people here in Australia, when I was traveling, which I'll read another piece about them, they took me into them, and they took me as one of their people, because I could identify with these cultures now, and I could relate, and I knew it was like, it was second nature. When I was with them, I was like them, whether it's through the Asian continent, whether it's through the subcontinent, whether it's through our indigenous people here or in New Zealand, wherever. And it's because I have lived those lives before, because it just, you feel, you automatically know this is second nature to you, and you ask yourself, why, where, how? Now, you know, that through those past journeys, I have lived these, I guess. And some of these come to me in dreams very vividly. So this piece, The Days of War.
The Days of War.
The sun sets over a barren land. Chill winds blow across the desert floor. Fierce battle rages through the days, and eerie silence fills the nights. Surviving soldiers return to camp, weary of body and tortured within. The bloodlust subsided, the need to prepare for the next morn. Weapons must be sharpened, bodies must be rested, for with the rise of another new dawn, the call to arms will surely sound. Back in the day, there were no machines of war. Life was taken by the plunge of a blade. A soldier's arm plunged the blade, taking a brother's life in vain. A soldier's arm tired with fatigue. With each thrust, his heart withers. As he watched his blood flow, life's blood flow on the parched soil of another's shore. Sun-baked soil drenched in blood, the coyotes feast well each night. Sitting alone after a meagre meal, the grey wolf laying at my feet, reflecting on my loved one and offspring, I sharpened my blade. The wolf in tow, I yearn for home. Think of loved ones patiently waiting. The young yearn to play wild and free. My love's wish to lie by the hearth, to return to what I cherish. The price I pay is the life of a brother, a wife to not widow, or children too often. The price I pay is carry the burden. For the ideal of someone else's dream, innocent lives are laid to waste. If the warlords fought their own battles, many a soul will still walk free. But this has never been the way. Soldiers were always the pawns of play. Innocent lives sacrificed so young. Lost souls wander in the dark. The generals sing songs of glory, hands unstained from blood of the fallen, while soldiers again rebuild simple lives upheaved by the days of war.
Wow. Wow.
Again, Andy, you gotta take it over for me. I got it, because again, I just need a minute to process that whole.
Yeah, I'm very
creative.
speechless. Wow. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just, again, I really am completely in line with your philosophy, so to speak, and your ability to take your own journey, your own experience, and the way you just so beautifully describe it. Again, I understand it's your vision, but it really connects on a universal level for me. And I hate to say I'm selfish, but I'm selfish in that I want to take the lessons for myself in this. So the way you write, I'm just such a fan. And to hear you today and the way you described yourself before, I feel like it's two different people, and it transcribed through the writing. Andy, would you agree with me? And yeah, I'll try to get some other friends in.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's interesting how sometimes we look back in life and we realize, wow, like in my case, I used to be a very angry person before I came to the Lord. I've been with the Lord since 2013, but the journey there wasn't easy. But before then, I was the kind of person that, yeah, people like hanging out with me, but if I was angry, I was gonna let you have it. Like, I didn't care what it was, I didn't care who I hurt, as long as I proved my point. And I didn't realize how many people I was hurting by doing that. And it's just, growing up was not an easy process for me, especially me dealing with like mental health and stuff like that. And again, it's just one of those processes that, nobody really sat down with me and really talked to me about life, because my dad was very, he came from a time that, especially Hispanic culture, they didn't really talk about that kind of stuff. Like, it was kind of forbidden. So I had to learn a lot of things on my own. And it's funny, it's interesting because my sister, right, the way she grew up understanding life was supposed to be this beautiful place. But then when she went out to the world, it was a whole different thing. I grew up with my dad always telling me, oh, no, you can't trust people. No, don't do that, because every time you confide in somebody, they're going to backstab you. And every time I made friends or I meet people, I was always looking for the worst of the worst to happen. And then when it did happen, I'm like, I knew it. My father was right. You see, that's why I shouldn't have been friends with you. And it was just like, the more I felt with disappointment, the more angry I got. The more angry I got, the more depression came on me. The more depressed I got, the more I used to medicate my pain with like alcohol or drugs or cigarettes or whatever it was, or even with eating. I don't really talk about this a lot, but I struggle a lot with gluttony, even though I don't really look like that type. But then again, what does a glutton person look like? You know what I'm saying? But I do struggle like that, in that way where sometimes I stress eat, or if I'm depressed, depending how depressed I'm, if it's really severe, I don't eat at all. But if it's not that severe, I eat a lot. And it's just something I struggle with. And it's just, nowadays I've learned to be more aware in a way that it doesn't get to that point, even though it does get difficult. And, I'm the first time father. My son is 4 years old. So it's like, there's so many things I'm learning about myself through him, and it's just like, wow, like I didn't know I had that inside of me, you know. But I think that self-awareness and being honest with yourself definitely helps a lot. I think when you walk in that journey of life, you know, like in my case, I'm just saying in my case, you know, because I do believe in God and stuff like that too. So the fact that I've learned to accept what I wasn't willing to accept, because acceptance is something I struggle with a lot, and let's just say God's been shaking me a lot, where I have to really just be still and just look around. Like, pray before you overthink. Be still before you start taking action. Because if you take action without being still and without actually trying to analyze the situation, you might make decisions that maybe that wasn't meant for. And then now you're suffering the consequences of something you could have thought about and really reworked everything before I got to that point. So that's something I'm really learning right now this season of my life. But I'm learning to really be still, and it's hard. Especially us men. Us men are very prideful beings. And
Rainer, do you think the martial arts helped with some of this?
Very much so. Very much so, because it helped to find that it's a combination of body, mind, and spirit, right? So it's fine to have everything there, that what life should be, but you got to have the strength to walk through that fire physically and within your fortitudinal sort of strength. So that gives you that confidence to walk through that fire, to shed aside those physical fears. And then the strength, it gives you, feeds the strength to start looking within, which takes more strength. To me, I'm the kind of person, if you tell me there's 6 guys outside my door now with guns and knives, I would walk out there without any doubt. But if I met a woman that I want to give my heart to, that is my Achilles heel. My heart is my Achilles heel.
Because I hear that, like, that's tough to give that side where you have that discipline when it comes to more of a physical or anger or machismo, so to speak. But to me, also, like right now with everything I'm dealing with, to me, it's like you said before, finding a restraint almost. Like I'm going, instead of blowing up or succumbing to like a deepness of the depression or wherever, you're going to overcome it with that restraint and strength.
Yeah.
So, and you kind of build that through martial arts and stuff like that as well. And continue.
Yeah.
And welcome everybody.
It's never given me, my heart being my Achilles heel, it's never stopped me from giving my heart, but I gave it shaking, and it was each step was challenging, right? And you asked before about healing and about through the travels. I had a piece called Life Search, which encapsulates everything about my physical travels through this continent, my inner travels, and about when I cross over through the through the paranormal, through dimensions. I guess through my experience, it probably captures a lot of that. And even you mentioned before, on a global level, on a universal level, how we connect. That this piece probably captures a lot of that, and probably gives more meaning to me, I guess.
Oh, cool.
Life search. Walking along the urban sprawls through night and day, busy streets and rain-splattered walkways, filled of many people, cloaked in coats of varied design, each in a hurry, in search of goals with no time to pause. They all seek a peaceful life, filled with love, untainted. Traversing the wilderness from distant hills to desert lands, infrequent nomads pass by, headed to varied destinations. A friendly greeting, for we walk a common path through life, in search of differing fulfillment, whatever that may be, all ultimately seeking in harmony in life, with a love pure and true. Journeying through the shadows of the valley of death, distraught souls lost in their way, eager hands reaching for help, desperately seeking release, they search for the light that shines so bright. Pausing at the edge, we touch through the veil separating our dimensions. We all seek for love unconditional, so we may all dwell in heaven's peace. Cultures and creeds do not differentiate. As people, we are the same. We search through life's experience, searching a common goal within. Though we may at times lose our way, clouded by varied illusions. The people of the nations are as one. We search for the same, peace and tranquility within, bonded through love, perfect and true.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Perfect
It's
and true. Perfect and true. I mean,
yeah.
absolutely. I could, the way that ends, it's just perfect and true. There's no other words to say that, but that, Andy,
Yeah.
don't you think?
No, I agree. I definitely agree. Just real quick before, because we are reaching towards the end, and for those who are just joining us, as you know, this is the first hour. We were doing the interview with Rainer.
And what an
700.
incredible hour it's been, yeah.
Yes. So if you're here for the open mic, that's gonna start in the next 9 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes or
10
so.
minutes, 9 minutes. And then what we're gonna do is, like we always do, once this interview ends, we restart the live. I drive the car, and then that's when the open mic lives, begin. But for those who just joined us, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the support that you've been showing us.
And Rainer, thank you for joining us tonight too for a wonderful start off to another incredible, our first May, our Cinco de Mayo, celebration.
Oh, yes, I had tacos for dinner.
To that for the open mic, but those of us joining us,
question.
Apparently I'm driving the car, Rainer, but apparently the doors are locked, so I have been struggling to get our friends back in, but we're still fine, just the three of us. So I'm going to continue to try and get somebody on.
Yeah.
We might have a guest back on.
Yeah, I have
the two of us.
It looks like Instagram's giving issues because now you can't even invite anybody back in. I'm really sorry about that, guys. I don't know why that's happening.
When we flip the cars, when we change cars, we'll make sure all the doors are unlocked.
All right.
But, look, thank you for having me here too. It's been a great honor, and it's really lovely to spend time with you both and hopefully show what I'm about. And I don't have any shadows. Right?
Oh well.
No, that's good.
Whoa!
No.
Andy, go.
We should definitely do a part 2 eventually. We should definitely do a part 2. But I wanted to ask you about your books because you have 2 books, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the first one, a couple of the pieces like that, different walks in life, and all in the first book, Life: The Journey of the Soul. All available through Amazon and Barnes and Noble, plus the links in my bio on IG. And the second one, which came out this year, was a continuation of that. So that Search for Life and so forth is Growth, Enlightenment of the Soul. That too, some of the pieces. I was going to read that piece about this, my interlude with the Indigenous people here in the middle of... have we got time? We got about 6 minutes. I can squeeze that in.
Oh, no, of course we have time for you, Rainer. Of course.
Go for it.
And so that's in the second book as well. It's called Red Dirt Sunset. Standing on solid rock, I gaze up at the bright blue sky. A vivid rainbow serpent arch across the sky overhead, prompting memories of brighter times in days long gone by. Flying among silver clouds, dancing on rainbows in heavenly glee. Then as I breathe in, a reminder that I still stand on solid ground. Returning to reality, I resume my trek through the barren land. Storms ahead, red dirt rises violently in the strengthening winds. Soon it will infiltrate every pore of my being, akin to a new love at first. The red silica grains will soon choke, akin to a love when it has fallen. As each desert storm rises in earnest, it soon subsides in a red dirt sunset. In the distance, I see the campfires of a nomadic tribe. Perhaps I will head their way, share a meal, and sit for a while. With some luck, a man of medicine can heal this heavy heart of mine, lighten the burdens I carry within, set me free to run in the wild. The sky is aflame as red dirt hangs in the air, lit by the setting sun. Approaching the campfire, wild men look at me with apprehension. Soon the tension eases. I am offered a meal of meat and yams. An intoxicating liquid reaches my lips. Soon I drift in mild relaxation. As I dance to tribal music, young maidens giggle behind cupped hands. I carry a heart absent of love, but I dance under a red dirt sunset. A medicine man looks at me in the morn, a quizzical stare in his eyes. Placing a gnarled hand on my heart, a vile serum he makes me drink. He simply says, now go on your journey, find in you what is missing. I resumed my trek, leaving singular footprints on the barren red sands. Searching for myself, I keep walking till the next red dirt sunset finds me.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, of course.
Yeah.
And he acted like we weren't going to allow him to showcase that piece of
Wow.
poetic work here. Again, and please forgive me, is that from the first book or the new book?
That's in the new book.
That's what I thought, the new book. But even though it's a new book, I have to imagine you have something up your sleeve coming down the way, perchance. Are you working on something else?
It's
Hopefully?
funny. I write. I don't plan. I don't write by numbers or plan by scripts. I just write when it feels right. And soon after I released the second book, I was interviewed by Kate Delaney on America Tonight, that goes across the States. And she asked me that question. And as soon as I held a physical copy of this book in my hand, the author's review copy, the title for the next one came into my head. And I'm working on that now. And it's called Love, the Soul Finds Peace.
Oh my gosh, we got another exclusive, Andy, another exclusive Unraveled Influence.
You heard it here first on Unraveled Influence.
We're international, baby, and we always get the exclusive. So the third book that our darling Rainer's going to have is Love.
The Soul Finds Peace.
I wrote The Soul. I'm like, wait a minute, there's more than that. The Soul Finds Peace. That's definitely a book we are all waiting for. I know that's the book I need to read.
So I guess it makes that trilogy, right? Life, the journey of the soul, growth, enlightenment of the soul, and love, the soul finds peace. Hopefully I'll find peace in my heart before I take my last breath, you know. Billy.
Man.
Well,
you know what? When I die, I want my funeral to be joyful.
We cycle through. So hopefully, I know, with the whole energy transference and, all energies.
Amen.
Look,
I'm on cloud 9 right now.
I know. What an
if I was
to
leave something to the people listening, I have probably got, and most of my family and friends would vouch for this, I've probably got more scars in my heart than people have had hot dinners. Through that, they're all blessed people. I have had many joys in my life. If I was to take my last breath right now, I can honestly say I will not have any regrets.
Wow.
I've got no unfulfilled desires or dreams. Perhaps the only thing is my son is now an adult and we're the best of friends. We're more than we're father and son, we're friends. Even last night we had dinner. The only regret I probably would have is not seeing, he's an adult, but not seeing him with a family of his own, I guess, and seeing that's probably the only regret I have. But I know I can watch him from wherever I am, like my father watched me. So I think.
So he's not have a family yet, or
he's got a partner and he's got his own home and things like that. That no kids of his own and things. But I think that's probably next few years. I think that's wouldn't surprise me if that happened very soon. But I think my message to people are, life can be a bitch at times, right? It can really hurt. It can put us on fire. It can drown. You feel like
scariest thing.
Yeah, with no escape. All those. Sometimes if you think as a parent, you send your child to school, you see them struggling in school now, but it's for their good, right? So through these fires that we walk, through the pain, through the hurts, through the traumas in life, we grow and it's that growing within. I think if you take the time to learn those lessons, to grow, I think then that pain, that event has served its purpose.
Thank you. Honestly, that's seriously what I needed to hear in this exact moment, because at this
Amen.
moment, a lot of us are going through some things, and pain is very difficult, especially when sometimes the hardest decision you have to make is to take care of yourself. And if by taking care of yourself, it can almost be misconstrued as something else. And and through that pain, you have to kind of grieve and understand that choices you make are for your and everybody else's benefit. But wow, I mean, again, I'm not there yet. I'm still learning my lessons. So
That's the
again,
thing.
wow.
We're always
I
learning.
needed to
It
hear
never
that today.
stops, and
I think it's not shying away from that is probably vital. I always look at life like, imagine if you're standing at the bottom of a mountain. Yes, you look up the top and you go, holy hell, that's a long way up. You look at it, so you've got an idea where to go, but then you only focus on the next step and the next step and the next step, because then when you're 100 steps up, suddenly the view is different, right? But if you looked at the very top, you think, God, I got no strength to make this. But if you only look at it, know where you're going, know the challenge that you're accepting, but only focus on the next step, the next step, the next step. Don't try to get from start to end without walking through the steps. I think looking at that progressively is key and vital.
And I will say, for somebody who has, like, I guess, could say, if I would recommend doing a running program, because that's something that will definitely teach you that. Because I used to be very unhealthy, and then through running, and again, I've done half marathons, and then you think, oh my gosh, it's when you get that to that 6 miles, it's like nothing until you get to the 10 miles, it's nothing, but absolutely, it's so overwhelming when you first start. But what do they say? A road to 1,000 miles starts with one step, Andy. I know I messed that up, but wow.
Nah, I get you.
What did I say, Andy? Our friend Raider is going to bring the wonderful light and love and lessons that we all needed to hear tonight. Absolutely.